And good day, everyone, and we are the Group 5 in MMW presenting Statistics and Data Management. So, what is our learning objectives? Define statistics and list its applications, explain types of descriptive statistics, define data and data management, use graphs and charts to organize data, and evaluate it with statistical tools. So, what is statistics? Statistics is the science of collecting, describing, and interpreting data and making decisions based on data. Purpose of statistics is to provide tools and methodologies for collecting, organizing, analyzing, interpreting, and presenting data to make informed decisions and draw meaningful conclusions. So statistics is used for data collection and organization, data analysis, making inferences for decision making, testing hypotheses, identifying variability and uncertainty, facilitating communication, and to systematically gather information and arrange it in a usable format. For example, designing surveys or experiments to collect data on consumer preferences is also used to identify patterns, relationships, or trends in data. Next, branches of statistics. First is descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics summarize and organize data to make it easy to understand. They use averages, tables, and graphs. So the purpose of descriptive statistics is to summarize, organize, and present data in a clear and meaningful way to provide an overview of its characteristics. It simplifies complex datasets, making them easier to interpret and analyze. Descriptive statistics are also used to describe the main features of a dataset without making inferences or predictions about a larger population. So, sabi nga dito, summarized data. Summarized data is like they provide a compact representation of large sets. For example, reporting the average score of a class on a test, or they organize data. They arrange raw data into a structured form, such as tables or charts for better understanding. Example naman nito is they create a frequency distribution table to display data patterns. So next, inferential statistics. Inferential statistics use data from a small group to predict or compare a larger group. It uses math and tests to final answers. Inferential statistics daw, ang purpose nito is to make predictions, generalizations, and decisions about a larger population based on the data collected from a sample. It allows researchers to draw conclusions and make inferences about a population when it is impractical or impossible to study the entire group. So, yung key objectives naman nung inferential statistics is like generalization. They infer characteristics yung entire population using data from a representative sample. Example is predicting voter preferences based on a poll of a subset of the population. Inferential statistics also uses like ginagamit siya for hypothesis testing, estimation, prediction, comparison, and quantifying uncertainty. Next, data management. The first one is data. Data is information collected through observation, counts, measurements, or responses. It includes facts and figures used for analysis. For example, student profiles, age, course, gender, or consumer preferences like soap and shampoo. So, what is data management naman? It is the process of collecting, storing, protecting, and processing data to make it accessible and reliable. Example naman nito is businesses use data to understand customer behavior and improve experiences. So, the purpose ng data management daw is like to organize, store, and secure and maintain data effectively throughout its life cycle to ensure it's accurate, accessible, and usable for decision making and analysis. So, yung proper data management naman, it also helps the organizations to maximize the value of their data and to minimize risks and improve operational efficiency. So, ang key objectives naman ng data management is like data organization and storage. They also uh, assure its data quality, data security and privacy, data accessibility, data integration, data governance, data analysis and decision support, data lifecycle management, like from creation and usage of archiving and disposal, and facilitating collaboration and cost efficiency. So data management is used for business, like uh, they enhance customer experiences through better data insights. O kaya sa healthcare, they manage patient records for improved care and compliance. Or education, they organize students and institutional data for their performance tracking. And lastly, for the government, they use it to manage census data or public services efficiently. And next, for data collection,
So next we have the data collection or the process of gathering information to analyze and make decisions. It can involve collecting numbers, words, images, or observations depending on what you are studying. The goal of data collection is to collect accurate and relevant information to answer questions or solve problems. Next slide. So as we collect data, we have different sources. So ano nga ba yung mga ito? Next please. So first, we have the primary data. Ito yung mga data na direktang nakuha mula sa source and hindi pa siya naayos and nasuri. So some example of this is yung survey, experiment, and observation. So yung survey is usually ginagamit para makolekta yung thoughts, opinions, and feelings ng mga tao. So halimbawa nito is yung case study natin kung saan nag-interview tayo ng alumni via direct conversation and through questionnaires. So next is yung experiment na usually ginagamit sa medicine, psychology, at nutrition to directly observe the result of certain tests. And lastly is yung observation na kung saan yung data is nako-collect through direct observing ng isang natural phenomenon o sa isang controlled environment. Next, please. Next, we have the secondary data na kung saan yung data na nakolekta is naayos and nasuri na. So some example of this are published and unpublished books, journal articles, newspaper, and such. Like yung data na nakuha natin ng interview sa case study, inanalyze natin. So yung paper natin is secondary data na. Next, please. Now, let's proceed with the two categories of data, which is very familiar naman sa lahat. Next. The qualitative and the quantitative data. So, kapag qualitative data, categorical. Tumutukol sa data na ipinapahayag gamit ang words, pictures, or symbols. So, hindi siya numerical. Some example of this is yung hair color and gender. Next is yung quantitative data na kung saan pinapahayag via numbers. So, usually sumasagot sa tanong na how many, how much, and how often. So, halimbawa is yung timbang, score sa exam, and number of students. Now, under quantitative data, next. we have the discrete and continuous data. So kapag discrete, yung value is countable o nabibilang. Integer siya or whole number. Like bilang ng estudyante. So next, yung kapag continuous naman, hindi siya nabibilang pero natitimbang. Ine-express siya via decimal or fraction. So halimbawa, yung timbang and yung time. Now, let's proceed with the type of data based on their mathematical properties. So first is yung nominal data. Kapag sinabing nominal data, descriptive labels lang siya. It doesn't have numerical values tulad ng gender and nationality. While sa ordinal data naman, it has ranking o order pero yung walang specific interval between the ranks. Halimbawa, first, second, third, o kaya excellent, good, fair, poor, ganyan. So may order siya pero hindi natin alam yung exact distance o pagkakaiba ng values between rankings. Next. Next is yung interval data na kung saan may order at equal interval sa pagitan ng bawat values. Pero walang true zero. So ano ibig sabihin ng true zero? Yung zero is not totally, ibig sabihin walang value. Sa interval data niya, yung zero niya, hindi siya talaga zero na walang value. So halimbawa nito is yung temperature with 10 degrees interval. So 0, 10, 20 degrees. Pero yung 0 degrees na temperature, hindi ibig sabihin nun wala ka nang mafe-feel na klima. While sa ratio data naman, ini-include niya lahat ng properties and also yung zero niya means zero talaga. So halimbawa sa age ng humans with 5 years interval, 0, 5, 10 years, 15 years. So yung zero dito is wala talaga. Hindi pa siya either kakapanganak pa lang niya or months pa lang siyang nabubuhay. And then, next. So, to sum it up, kapag nagka-categorize and nagle-label, nominal. Pag it categorize and ranks, ordinal. Categorize, ranks, and may equal intervals sa interval. Pero kapag meron siya lahat ng property and yung meron siyang true zero, kabilang siya sa ratio. So, next. So, next is frequency. Next. So, frequency is kung gaano kadalas lumabas ang isang data point sa isang dataset. So, halimbawa sa dataset na nasa screen, yung 133666. Ang frequency ng 6 ay 3. Kasi kung bibilangin, 3 beses siyang lumabas sa dataset. Halimbawa, yung sa 3, ang frequency niya is 2. So, next. Let's proceed with the frequency distribution. Frequency distribution, basically, visual representation kung saan pinapakita lang yung frequency ng bawat data, like yung nasa screen. So, yung data 1, yung frequency niya is 1 kasi isang beses siyang lumabas sa dataset. So, it can be represented via frequency table, katulad ng sample sa screen, but we can also use bar graph, histogram, pie chart, and line graph. Now, let's proceed sa relative frequency. So, yung relative frequency naman is yung kumbaga, ratio lang siya ng frequency. It can be presented as fraction, decimal, or percentage. So, let's say, meron tayong total ng 11 data points from the dataset na nasa screen. And then, kukunin natin yung interval frequency ng 5, we have to get the frequency ng 5 over the total number of data. So, ang frequency ng 5 is 1 and ang total ng data is 11. So, 1 over 11 yung relative frequency. Pero pag in-express natin siya sa percentage, it will be 9.1%. And lastly, we have the next, please. The cumulative frequency. So, yung cumulative frequency is ginagamit siya or ang nire-represent nito is kung ano yung total ng data point hanggang sa isang certain data point. So, halimbawa, ilan yung data points from the data point 1 hanggang data point 3. So, kung kukunin natin yan, kailangan lang natin i-add yung mga frequency hanggang makarating sa data point na 3. So, data point ng 1, ang frequency niya is 1 plus frequency ng data point 2, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3 and then na-add natin yung frequency ng data point 3 which is 3. So, 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. Therefore, yung cumulative frequency from data point 1 to data point 3 is 6.
Thank you for the wonderful explanations, Miss Heidi. Now, let us tackle the classifications of data. Next slide, please. There are two classifications of data. The first one is ungrouped data, which are list of numbers that have not been organized. Simply put, it is what we call raw data. This given, for example, yung nasa right natin, is an ungrouped data because magulo siya and is clearly not organized. But what is its purpose? Its purpose is to present raw data points nang walang ginagalaw. It remains untouched. Next slide, please. On the other hand, we have group data, which are list of numbers na organized and naayos na into their own categories and classes. Also, the data have been analyzed. Ang purpose niya naman is para mapadali ang pag-interpret sa isang data. Katulad na lang ng example sa ating kaliwa, as we can all see, madali siyang ma-interpret. And yun, that's all for the classifications of data. Now let's move on to the methods of data presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, the first one is textual presentation of data. As the name suggests, it's data that is presented through text like paragraphs or sentences. Ina-identify naman nito ang mga characteristics and features ng isang data. For example, sa ating baba, this table stated that at least 34 out of 40 students passed the quiz 1. And dyan, may makikita tayong 2 students got a perfect score, 34 students got a passing score of 25 points, and so on and so forth. Okay, stem and leaf plot is another example. It sorts data by separating numbers into two parts. Basically, yung stem column is yung first digit ng data and the leaf column is the last digit ng data. Now, paano naman kung three-digit numbers yung data? The stem column have the first two-digit numbers while yung leaf column ganun pa rin, last digit. Basta it separates numbers into two parts lang. Okay, moving on. Tabular presentation data. Tabulation is any form of simple tables or frequency distribution table. Katulad na lang na nasa baba, the frequency distribution table, ito yung nag-organize ng data into categories and corresponding frequencies. Yung data na nasa left at yung sa right side ng frequency, yun yung frequency ng data na yun. For example, data set 1122. Yung nasa left, yung 1, yung data, 1 saka 2, and their frequency is both 2 because the data set is 11 and 22. And yan, that's for the frequency distribution table. Next slide, please. The next one is contingency table, also known as two-way tables. Dito naman, it shows the relationship of between two or more categorical data. Ayan, for example, yung table, It shows ano ang mga favorite way to eat ice cream ng both male and female. Ayun, relationship lang ng both male and female ang pinapakita and how they differ to one another. Sige, next slide. Ayan, and that is all for the methods of data presentation. I would now like to pass the attention to Miss Erica. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. So, the previous reporter discussed the methods of data presentation, including the textual presentation that used paragraphs or sentences, and the tabular that can be in the form of simple tables. At ngayon naman, I am going to discuss the other method of presenting data, which is the graphical methods. So before we discuss the bar graph, I'm going to discuss what is graphical method. So graphical method is a way of representing data or solving problems visually using graphs, diagrams, or charts. It is used to make data easier to understand, analyze, and interpret. So we have here the different types of graphical method. The first one is the bar graph. So bar graph uses rectangular bars to represent data with the height or length of each bar showing the value of frequency. It can be vertical or horizontal and comes in types like simple, where only one set of data is displayed. The multiple, two or more sets of data are shown for comparison, and the component type, each bar is divided into sections to show the parts of a total value. The purpose of a bar graph is to visually represent and compare categorical data by using bars of varying lengths or heights. Each bar corresponds to a specific category, and the length of height of the bar reflects the value or frequency of that category. This makes it easy to compare different categories at a glance. For example, in this bar graph below, if you're comparing the birth weights of newly born babies, the bars in the graph would represent each baby's weight. The height or length of each bar shows how much each baby weighs. The tallest bar would indicate the baby with the heaviest birth weight, while the shortest bar would represent the baby with the lightest birth weight. This allows you to quickly see which babies were heavier or lighter at birth. Bar graphs are particularly effective for summarizing this kind of data as they make it easy to identify trends such as whether most babies were born with similar weights or if there were significant variations. This method of presenting data is clear, simple, and easy to understand even for those who may not be familiar with these detailed statistics. Next, so the second example of graphical method is the histogram. It is a pictorial diagram of frequency distribution. The class intervals are reflected along the x-axis and the frequencies along the y-axis using a series of bars, and it looks like a bar chart, but there are important differences between them. So a histogram is a type of graph that shows how often certain values or ranges of values appear in a dataset. It looks like a bar chart, but there are key differences. Like a histogram has class intervals, ranges of data is shown along the x-axis or the horizontal axis. For example, if you're looking at test scores, the intervals could be 50 to 59, 39 to 49, and 49 to 59, 59 to 69, so on. So the other one is the frequencies. This is how many times each interval occurs are shown along the y-axis. This shows how many people or items fall within each interval. So the purpose of this method is to represent the distribution of numerical data visually by dividing it into intervals and displaying the frequency of data points within each. So in this table, there are three scores in the first interval, 10 in the, wait, 10 in the second, etc. Class intervals of width 10 provide enough detail about the distribution to be revealing without making the graph too choppy. So in this histogram, bar represents one of these intervals. The height of the bar shows how many students scored within that interval. For example, from the 49.5 to 59.5 interval would be higher than the bar for the 39.5 to 49.5 interval because there are 10 students in the second interval compared to only 3 students in the first. The shape of the histogram will tell you about how the student scores are distributed. A histogram is just a way to visualize how many students scored within certain ranges. In this case, you can quickly see which score ranges had the most students and how the student scores are distributed. So the other example of graphical method is the cumulative frequency graph. This is also known as ogive. It's a curve showing the cumulative frequency or a given set of data. It is a way of showing how data accumulates over time or across different intervals. The purpose is to display the cumulative totals of data, helping to analyze and interpret trends in dataset. Tulad ng example sa baba, like this is a cumulative frequency graph comparing the height distribution of boys and girls. So yung y-axis represents the height and the y-axis represents the cumulative frequency showing the total number of individuals, boys and girls, whose heights are less than or equal to a specific value. So yung curves, the blue line represents the cumulative frequency of boys, and the pink line represents the cumulative frequency of girls. Tulad na nakita nyo sa curve, both graphs rise steeply between heights of approximately 1.5 and 2 meters, indicating that most of the height for boys and girls fall within this range. The graph flattens out after around 2 meters, indicating that all or nearly all individuals are accounted for beyond this height. So the final cumulative frequency for both boys and girls seems to reach the same value, 30 individuals, suggesting an equal sample size for boys and girls. If i-compare natin for lower heights, below 1.6 meters, the cumulative frequency for girls is slightly higher than for boys. This could mean that more girls are shorter compared to boys. Between 1.6 and 2 meters, the curves for boys and girls are close, indicating similar height distribution in this range. Next example is the frequency polygon. It is a graph obtained by joining the midpoints of histogram blocks using line segments. The purpose of this is to display the distribution of a dataset. So a frequency polygon is a graph that is very similar to the ogive, but instead of showing the cumulative frequency, it shows the actual frequency or the number of data points for each interval. So just like the histogram, the data is grouped into intervals and each interval has a bar representing how many data points fall into that interval. For each interval in the histogram, you find the midpoint. For example, for the interval, like for example, for the interval of 66 to 72, the midpoint would be 60. What is the midpoint of 66 and 72? Probably 69. So the midpoint is 69. In joining the midpoints to create a frequency polygon, you take the midpoint of each interval and plot it on the x-axis. For each interval, instead of plotting the cumulative frequency, you plot the frequency, the number of data points that fall within that interval on the y-axis. And after plotting all the midpoints of the x-axis, and their corresponding frequencies on the y-axis, you connect these points using straight line segments. And makikita nyo naman yung table, yung example dito ng frequency polygon. Yung mga line segment na nagko-connect. For example, in this table, the x-axis represents the scores in this quiz ranging from approximately 60 to 108. The y-axis represents the frequency or the number of students achieving a specific score range. The three lines, Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, represent the frequency distribution of scores for the three sections. The section 1 is the blue line, makikita nyo sa baba. And the section 2 is the orange line, and the section 3 is the purple line. So, the Series 1 or the blue line peaks at a score around 75 and 87, indicating that most students section 1 scored in this range. In Series 2 or the orange line peaks at a score around 75, suggesting that section 2 has a similar most frequent score. Series 3 or the purple also peaks around 75 and 85, showing similar performance trends to section 1. Section 1 has more varied distribution of scores, with some students scoring as low as 67 and the others as high as 100. And Section 2 and 3 have higher peaks and narrower distributions, meaning scores are more concentrated around 88 to 96. So, the last but not the least is the pie chart. So it is a chart in circular form that uses pie slices to illustrate the relative sizes of data. The chart is divided into sectors of the circle, where each sector shows the relative size of each data. This is a graph that shows how data is divided into different categories represented as slices of a circle. Each slice shows the relative size or percentage of each category compared to the whole. The entire chart is in the shape of a circle like a pie. Makikita nyo naman yung example dito. And the circle is divided into sectors or slices. Each slice represents a category in your data. The category here is the Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, Firefox, and Opera. So the circle is divided, the size of each slice shows the proportion or the percentage of that category compared to the whole. The bigger the slice, the larger the percentage or the number of that category. Like for example, yung Chrome has bigger proportion since 40% siya. And all the slices together will always add up to 100. So if you add this value or the proportions here, it will equal to 100.
Punta naman tayo sa descriptive statistics. Now, bago tayo magsimula sa part ko, let me just remind you that this is a pre-recorded session. Therefore, I will not be able to entertain any upcoming questions regarding my topic. So, if may hindi kayo naintindihan, paki-replay na lang. Okay, so, next slide. Sa descriptive statistics, meron tayong tinatawag na measures of central tendency. Next slide. Ayan. So, measures of central tendency describes the center or typical value of a set of data. So, sa madaling salita, tinatawag nito yung average ng data mo. At meron tayong tatlong uri ng measures of central tendency. At ito ang mean, median, at mode. Now, depending on the situation, one may be more suitable than the others. So, unahin natin yung mean. The mean is the sum of all data values divided by the total number of values. It is the most commonly used measure of central tendency. So, ang mean daw, pag-add mo lahat ng data, then i-divide mo sa total number ng data. So, kapag may 4 kang data, pag-add mo yun, divide mo sa 4. Ayan. Next slide. So, the formula for the mean is x na may sombrero equals the summation of x over n, where x na may sombrero is the mean, summation of x is the sum of all data values, and n is the total number of data values. So, ayan, makikita natin sa example. The scores in a short quiz of 30 students in mathematics are as follows. Find then the mean score of the class. Ayan, so, ang scores daw nila ay 37, 33, 33, 32, 29, 28, 23, 22, 22, 22, 21, 21, 21, 20, 20, 19, 19, 18, 18, 18, 18 ulit, 16, 15, 14, 14, 14, 12, 12, 9, at 6. Now, substituting all of that to the given formula, then you'd get 606 over 30 is equal to 20.2. So, yun yung mean natin. Yan. So, next slide. Yeah, so punta naman tayo sa weighted mean. Now, the weighted mean gives more importance to certain values based on their weight. So, parang yung kanina, ang pinagkaiba lang nila is meron siyang weight. Like, kung ilang yung nag-score ng ganitong score. So, makikita natin sa example, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have weights 0, 1, 0.1, 0.25, 0.3, 0.15, and 0.2 respectively. So substituting again to the given formula and we'd get, ayan, 3.1. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, so next naman is mean ulit, pero this time for the group data. Now, meron tayong dalawang method of solving for this mean. Una is the direct method denoted by the formula x is equal to the summation of f multiplied by x all over n. Yan. Basahin nyo na lang yan. Madami. And pangalawa naman is yung step deviation method denoted by the formula x is equals to a plus summation of f times u all over the summation of f multiplied by h. Ayan. So next slide. Ayan. So, punta tayo sa example. Ayan. Solving with the direct method. The following data shows the number of days that students were absent from school due to sickness in the previous school year. This is the direct method to compute the mean. Yan. So, makikita natin sa table, ang number of days absent due to sickness natin is 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, tapos 21 to 25. Now, yung frequency naman natin, we have 12, 11, 10, 4, 3. And so, for the next column, since naka-range yung number of days absent natin due to sickness, hindi naman pwedeng 1 to 5 yung ilagay natin dyan. Kukunin na lang natin yung average nito. Now, yung number of days absent is 1 to 5. So, 1 plus 5 is 6. Divided by 2 is 3. Yan. So, dyan natin makuha yung midpoint, which is 3. Next is 6 plus 10 divided by 2 is 8. Next is 13. Next is 18. And lastly, 23. Now, for the next column, i-multiply na lang naman natin yung x sa f. Yan. So, 12 times 3, 36. 11 times 8 is 88. Next is 130, 72, 69. So, pag-add na lang pag-add naman natin lahat ng yan to get 395. So, yung 395 na yun, i-divide natin sa 40 to get the answer 9.875. Yan. Ang galing. Next slide. Okay. Ito naman. Ito tayo sa mahirap. The step deviation method. The following data shows the distance traveled by 100 commuters from house to work. The given data can be tabulated as follows, where the assumed mean is 25.5. Now, unahin natin yung assumed mean. Parang natin nakuha yung 25.5. Now, since naka-range nga ulit yung distance in kilometers natin from 1 to 50, kukunin natin yung pinakagitnang column, tapos i-average lang natin yan. So, ang pinakagitna dito is 21 to 30. Kaya 21 plus 30, 51 over 2, 25.5. So, doon natin nakuha yung assumed mean. Now, yan, parang kanina nga ulit, na tinable form yung data, kinuha yung midpoints. So, hindi ko na ulitin yan. Okay? Diretso tayo dun sa fourth column. Para makuha yung fourth column, which is yung U, yung X, ima-minus natin yung assumed mean. Ayan. So, yung X nung una is 5.5, di ba? Minus mo yung 25.5. So, makukuha mo dyan is negative 20. Ata. Yes, negative 20. Divide mo sa 10 to get negative 2. Yan. Now, dinivide sa 10 kasi yun yung, number. Yan. Follow that step again to get negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Tapos, yan. Sa panglimang column, mumultiply mo lang yung ano mo sa frequency. Yung U sa frequency. Kaya, yan. Nakuha yung FU. Negative 20, negative 17, 0, 18, 26. So, pagsasum ulit natin yan to get 7. Tapos, divide natin sa 100. Tapos, yung sagot na yun, times mo sa 10. Magiging 26.2. Imposibleng hindi nyo naintindihan niya. Napakagaling, di ba? Parang magic lang. So, next slide na tayo. So, meron tayong advantages and disadvantages of using arithmetic mean. Ang advantage ng mean is it is simple to compute and can be used for almost any type of data. Tapos, it considers all data points, providing a comprehensive measure. Tapos, it's only slightly affected by unstable values in the data set. So, kapag unstable daw yung values mo, slightly lang ma-affected yung magiging result. Tapos yung disadvantages naman is it it may not be ideal when expressing averages in ratios or percentages. Yes, alam natin lahat. Alam natin lahat yan. Okay, next slide na. Basahin nyo na lang yan. Punta naman tayo sa median. So the median is the middle value when the data is ordered from smallest to largest. So kapag meron tayong data, like kunyari 5, tapos 1 to 5, yung median niyan is 3. Kasi yun yung middle value. Now dito, sa example, diretso tayo sa example, ang given data is 37, 25, 29, 43, 21, 17, and 35. Ayan. So, i-ascending order lang natin yan. Ayan, kung makikita nyo dyan. Tapos, there are 7 items. Now, kapag odd number yung observations mo, yung median, very obvious na. Yung nasa pinang leader. Pero kapag even number naman yung observations mo, di ba dalawa yung nasa gitna niya? Kukunin mo lang yung average doon. Ayun. Di ba? Napakagaling. Magaling na nag-invento nito. So, since there are 7 terms, the median is the fourth value, which is 29. Ayan. Di ba? And next example, given data are 45, 55, 35, 65, 85, 75. Put them in ascending order. There are 6 terms which is even. So the median number is the average of the third and fourth values, which is 60. Diba? 60 kasi 55 plus 65 divided by 2. Next slide. Ayan. So, ang formula naman, kapag para hanapin yung median ng group data, is ito. Makikita niyo sa screen. L plus, screenshot niyo na lang yan. Take note of that na lang. Now, diretso ulit tayo sa example. Meron tayong raw scores and frequency. Yan. So, sa 75 to 79 na score, may nakatatlo daw na nakakuha. Ayan, so di ko nababasahin yan. Napunta tayo sa kanan. Sabi dito, find n. So, n is 30. Ayan. Kasi pinagsum lang natin yung frequencies to get the total number of values. So, n divided by 2, ayan no, 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Very obvious na yan. So, look for the cumulative frequency greater than 15. So, para mahanap natin yung cumulative frequency dito, magsisimula tayo sa pinakababa, which is 4, plus 6, 10, plus 9, 19. Yan. So, sabi niya, greater than 15 lang. Eh, yung greater than 15 dyan is 19. So, 19. 19 siya. Ibig sabihin, yung 19 na yun, sa pangatlong column, at sa pangatlong row, is 60 to 64. Ibig sabihin, ito yung median class. Ayan, napakagaling, di ba? So, yung median class, yung lower limit nun is 60. Pero yung exact na lower limit natin is 59.5. Bakit? Kasi pansin nyo, yung 55 to 59, dumiretso siya sa 50, sa 60. Di ba? So, wala siyang range between 59 to 60. Kaya magma-minus tayo ng 0.5 palagi. Palagi natin gagawin yan to get the exact lower limit, which is 59.5. Now, yung class size natin, there are 5. And para madali lang yan. Ayun, 75, di ba? Kunyari yan, 75. Bilangin natin, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. O yan, o 5. So, class size natin is 5. Di ba? Ang galing. Tapos, ayan, substitute na lang yan sa formula na nasa taas. Ang hirap kasi basahin. Pagpasensya mo. To get the answer, 59.5. Ay, wait no. Iba pa rin nabasa ko. 62.27. Yan na yung sagot. Diba? Napakagaling. Now, ulitin ko, pag hindi nyo naintindihan yung nire-report ko, i-replay nyo na lang. Okay, next slide. Now, kung natapos na natin yung mean and yung median, pupunta naman tayo ngayon sa mode. Now, madali lang maintindihan to. Yung mode is the value that occurs most frequently. Yan. So, kahit gaano pa kadami yung data nyo, yung mode is yung pinaka maraming nangyari. Ah, yes. Now, it can be unimodal, which is one mode lang, isa lang yung number. Bimodal, which is two modes. Tapos trimodal, three modes. Multimodal is more than three. Zero mode, no mode at all. Yan. So, punta tayo sa example. Determine the mode for the following data sets. 2, 3, 5. Di ko nababasahin yan. Madami. Now, the number that occurs most frequent in these numbers are 15. Therefore, the mode is 15. Ayan. Very obvious. No need to think about it too much. Next example. Determine the mode for the following data sets. So, o, diba? Ako, ginagawa ko, tinitignan ko na lang. And nakikita ko na ang most frequent na nangyari is yung 79, 80, and 91. So, since tatlo sila, matatawag natin siyang trimodal. Kasi tatlo yung modes. May gumagalaw sa screen. Next slide, please. Now, yung kanina, for ungrouped data lang. Dito naman tayo sa mode ng group data. Ang formula dito is MO equals to L times B plus I, parentheses, D1 over D1 plus D2. And parentheses, where, ayan, screenshot mo na lang yan. Take note na lang. Sa example tayo, we have a table for the number of group coffee and the frequency. And so, 0 to 2 is 2. Yung na-brew na coffee, na 0 to 2 is 2. Ayan. Basahin nyo na lang yan. So, hanapin, yung modal class niyan is yung pinakamalaking frequency. So, ang pinakamalaking frequency dyan is 7. nakapantay sa 911. Yung lower boundary naman ng model class is yung 9. Tapos sabi kanina, di ba, magmaminus tayo ng 0.5 to get 8.5. Now, yung D1 is the frequency of model class minus yung nasa baba. Yan. Pero yung ginawa dito, yung nasa taas yung minus eh. Pero okay lang yan. Parehas lang yan. Kasi yung D2, yung nasa taas. Binaliktad lang ng... Oh, sige. Basta yan. Ngayon, para sa D1, 7 minus 6 is equals 1. Ayan. Hindi ko pa ako di bahala. Grabe oh. Next, D2. 7 minus 5 is 2. Yan. Tapos yung I natin, 0, 1, 2. I natin is 3. Substitute all the values in the given formula and you'll get the mode is 9.5. Palakpakan naman natin ang ating sarili dyan. Okay. Next slide. Malapit na tayo matapos. Now, tulad ng kanina, meron din tayong advantages and disadvantages of modes. Now, sa mode, the mode is easy to understand, calculate, and is useful for qualitative data. Yes. It is not affected by extreme values. It is easy to identify in the dataset and in a frequency distribution. It can be computed in an open-ended frequency table. It can be located in a graph. So basically, you can use your eyes to identify the mode. So no calculations needed. Now, ang disadvantages naman ng mode, it's only useful when the values repeat. Kasi it doesn't make sense kung hahanapin mo yung mode ng ano, di ba? Like, kunyari, yung data mo hanggang 100, pero magkakaiba sila ng values. So, ano yung mode dun, di ba? Walang mode dun. It also only considers the most frequent value, ignoring others, and may not represent the entire data well. Yan, di ba? So, kunyari, 100 yung data sets mo, tapos yung pinaka-common lang doon nangyari 10 times. Ang laking pinagbago nun. It can also be unstable with small data sets, as small changes can significantly affect the mode. Yes. Kasi kapag tatlo lang yung data mo, yung mode doon, isa lang. Ba't mo pa hinanap yung mode? Diba? So, that's actually it for my part. Let me repeat, if you have concerns regarding what I just discussed, paki-replay na lang po. Matthew, the mic is yours.
Okay, thank you, Marcius, for that wonderful explanation. Then, in this video, we will proceed about measure of dispersion. So, what is measure of dispersion? It shows how spread out data is from the average value. They help to understand if data is homogeneous or heterogeneous. Common methods including range, mean, absolute deviation, variance, standard deviation, range, and quartile deviation express spread in terms of distances, while deviation and standard deviation focuses on average deviations of the observation. Next slide, please. So we will be covering about range of ungroup data. So range is the simplest measure in mean of dispersion. So the formula of range is R equals H minus L. H stands for the highest value in the dataset, while L is the lowest value in the dataset. So let's take example. Final grades of the grade 11 students. So the male grade 11 students has 92, 91, 98, 87, 76, 75, 82, 84, 78, 86, and 83. While the female one has 82, 88, 83, 85, 82, 77, 91, 98, 82, and 79. So we will calculate the range of the male grade 11 students. So using our range formula, which is the R equals H minus L. So the highest grade of the male student, which is the 98, and the lowest is 75. So applying the formula, which is 98, which is our H, and lowest is 75. So 98 minus 75 equals 23. Let us move on to the female. So the female has the highest grade is 92, on the lowest is 77. Applying our range formula, which is the H minus L again, we are doing it 92 minus 77 equals 15. Next slide, please. So let us next cover the range of group data. So range, upper boundary of the higher class, lower boundary of the lowest class. Here we have two types of formula, or actually a method. So next is the, before we proceed, let's go back again, which is R equals UH minus LL. Then next is range midpoint of the highest class minus the midpoint of the lowest class, which is R equals MH minus ML. Let's take a look at the example. So our example is the weight, which is the pounds, which is the 100 to the lowest, and the highest is 129. And next column is the class boundaries and mid value and number of students. So to calculate the range of group data, we will apply first method, which is the UH minus LL. So we will find the upper boundary of the highest class and the lower boundary of the lowest class. We will apply 129.5, which is our upper boundary. Then we will minus it to the lowest class, which is the 99.5. So we calculate that, and you are given 30 pounds. Next method is the R equals MH minus ML, the midpoint and the midpoint of the highest and the lowest class. So the midpoint, the highest class is 127. As you can see in our third value, in the mid value, our third column, 127, then minus it to the lowest, which is 102. Then we have 127 minus 102 equals 25 pounds. Next slide, please. So now let us move on to the mean absolute deviation, which is MAD. Next slide, please. In this video, we will cover about the mean absolute deviation, MAD. Mean absolute deviation is the average of the absolute deviations of data values from their mean. Let's take a look for the given. MAD equals the summation of the absolute deviations of the values, and X minus X bar, which is the given value, minus the mean of ungroup data and the total number of measurements. Next slide, please. So let us take example for this. The given question. The record of the 10 fastest participants in 5-kilometer fun run in Manila are as follows: 50, 60, 75, 80, 90, 105, 125, 145, 165, and 200, all in minutes. Find the mean absolute deviation. So first, we will be using the MED formula, and we will calculate the X bar. So to calculate the X bar, we will all add the numbers in the excess column, which is the 50 up to 200. As you can see in the given solution at the top, if you apply that, you will get 195 over 10. And notice the N is the number of excess. You can see it is given at the bottom, and you will have 10. Then 10, 1095 over 10 equals 109.5. So substituting the math formula, we will be doing the x minus x bar, then over the number of participants, which is 10, then you will be applying 394 over 10 and equals 39.4. So the mean absolute deviation is 39.4. Next slide, please. And Prince, kindly proceed now to the next.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matthew, for the discussion about the previous topic. Now, moving on to the variance and standard deviation. Next slide, please. So, before we dig into this topic, let us know what is variance and standard deviation. Variance is another measure of dispersion. It is equal to the square of the standard deviation of the given set of data. So it states here that the variance is a statistical measure that quantifies the spread or dispersion of a set of data points. It is calculated by squaring the standard deviation, providing an indication of how much the data points differ from the mean. A higher variance means greater spread, while a lower variance indicates that the data points are closer to the mean. On the other hand, standard deviation is defined as the positive square root of the arithmetic mean of the squares of the deviations of the given values from their arithmetic mean. It is also referred to as the root mean square deviation. And here, it states that it is a measure of how spread out the values in a dataset are. It is calculated by taking the positive square root of the average of the squared differences between each data point and mean, often referred to as the root mean square deviation. This helps us to understand how much individual values vary from the average. Next slide, please. Okay, for the variance and the deviation of ungrouped data, we have the formula of the variance, denoted as S squared, is equal to the sum of the squared differences between each data point x and the mean x bar divided by n minus 1. And the standard deviation, denoted as S, is equal to the square root of the sum of the squared differences between each data point x and the mean x bar divided by n minus 1, wherein our S squared is the variance of the ungrouped data, S is the standard deviation of ungrouped data, x minus x bar is the deviation of x values from the mean, n is the number of measurements, and the last one is the summation of quantity x minus x bar squared is the summation of the squared of the deviations. Next slide, please. Moving on to our example, as you can see on the screen, the following numbers were obtained from the daily sale of a pair of trendy school shoes for 2 weeks in one of its stores. So we have a table here, which is labeled by a particular day and week. As we can see, this table contains daily sales in a 2-week span. The first thing that we should do is to calculate the mean. We can do this by simply adding each and every daily sales in the table and dividing it by 14, the total number of days in 2 weeks, which will give us the value of the mean, which is our 15.21. Next slide, please. Now that we know the value of our mean, let's move on to our next table. What we're going to do here is to input the daily sales from our previous table before in the X. In the X from 10 up to 24. Our N here is 14 because the daily sales or the data is 14 in a span of 2 weeks, as we've seen before. The next thing that we're going to do here is to solve for the deviation of X values from the mean, or the X minus X bar. To get this, we just need to subtract our x by the value of our mean earlier, which is 15.21. For example, we have our x here in the table, as you can see, which is 10. We're going to subtract 10 by 15.21, which will give us the value of negative 5.21. We're just going to repeat the process and subtract all over x by the mean 15.21 to get the values. Okay. Next on the table that we need to get is the quantity x minus x bar squared. All we need to do is to get the squared values of our deviation of x values from the mean. In this case, negative 0.21 squared is 27.1. We're just going to find all of that and input it in the table. We need to add the values as well, which will give us 226.4. Next slide, please. Ayan, before. So the table before is, we already inputted the values in the table before, which gave us the variance of the daily sales of trendy shoes, which is 17.415, and its standard deviation, which is 417. Now, this is the variance and the deviation of group data. The formula are as follows. The variance, denoted as S squared, is calculated by dividing the sum of the product of the frequency and the square differences between each data point x and the mean x bar minus x bar by n minus 1. And the standard deviation, denoted as S, is calculated as the square root of the sum of the product of the frequency f and the square differences between each data point x and the mean x bar, divided by n minus 1, wherein S squared is the variance of group data, S is the standard deviation of group data, F for the frequency of the class, X is for the class mark, X bar is for the mean of the group data, N is the total number of measurement, X minus X bar is the deviation of the class mark from the mean of group data. And last is the summation of F, quantity of x minus x per squared, summation of the product of the deviation and corresponding frequency of the class. Next slide, please. So we have another problem in here. The weights of female students in a PE class are given. Calculate its variance and standard deviation. First is we need to find our mean here. X bar is equal to the summation of frequency of x over n, which will give us 114.75 as our mean. Then, we need to get the total of our frequency here, which is the 100. And then, we need to get our midpoint here, or our x is that we need to add the weight in the table. For example, we have weight 100 to 104. So we're going to add that and divide it by 2, which will give us 102 as our midpoint x. For the frequency, or the fx, we need to multiply our 102 by 8, which will give us 816 as the frequency of x. And the total of all of that is 11,475. For our x minus x bar, we need to subtract our midpoint x by our mean 114.75. For example, our midpoint x, or 102 minus 114.75, is negative 12.75. That's our x minus the x bar and how to get the remaining values in there. Next is the quantity of x minus x bar squared. All we need to do is to get the square root of the values in the previous column. For example, negative 12.75 squared will give us 162.56 as a value, so on and so forth. For the last column, we have the f of quantity x minus x per squared. So what we're gonna do here is to get this to multiply our frequency with the values in our x minus x per squared. For instance, we have a frequency of 8 times 162.56, which will give us the value of 1300.5. We just need to repeat the process to get all the values. Last is we need to get the variance and the standard deviation of this using the formula. To get the variance, we use the formula. S squared is equal to the summation of f, quantity of x minus x bar squared, n minus 1, which will give us 81.19 as our variance. Then, to get the standard deviation, we use the formula. S is equal to the square root of the summation of f, quantity x minus x bar squared over n minus 1, which will give us 9.01 as our standard deviation. Therefore, the variance of it is 81.19 and its standard deviation is 9.01. So that concludes our report for today. We hope that we have shared has provided you with valuable insights and clear understanding of the topic. Thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions or clarifications, we would be happy to address them. Once again, thank you and have a great day ahead. Bye.